Hello everybody, this is Jason. If you are a returning subscriber, welcome back. If you are new here, welcome. I post content related with Webrtc, JavaScript. In today's tutorial, we're going to finish up what we left probably a couple of months now. We're going to finish off this Golang signaling server today. And then we're going to go on Flutter. Okay, the Flutter probably be like 3 to 4 videos. Yeah, I would like to apologize to all my followers that there hasn't been any updates for a good couple of months or more. Yeah, due to too busy on with work and other stuff. So apologize, and from now on I'll try to dedicate, pushing out at least 1 video a week. So yeah, so keep you interested. Okay, that's enough talk. Let's get into our code, how we left it last. Alright, let's bring up our terminal. We have to go back to the directory where we have this. Sorry, I should have done this before, but okay, I think it's in here, 30 days. And yeah, Flutter mesh go server. Okay, here we go. That's how we left it last time. Oh, okay, maybe we don't want to use Studio Code, VS Code for this. I just personally prefer Golang over VS Code for Go development. Simply the debugging and also the overall it just feels better. Okay, here we go. Should we have a little revision of what we have done? It's been a while. I probably need a little revision as well. Okay, so what we left last 2 sessions is we created this main .go that has all our endpoint, the WS, okay, which is the input and hits our WebSocket server. And then we created this in our last tutorial, our last video. For those who hasn't seen it, yeah, you can go back, look, start watching, part 1 and part 2, so you can follow on what's going on. Okay, and here the last session we did the basically very basic room management. Okay, we can new room which it creates when our app gets hit, like initially. Okay, and then down here we created 3 functions. The first one is create room. If the room doesn't exist, we create a new room, and get room is to check if the room is available or not. If not, create it. Okay, and then delete is the removal. Okay, and the server side we have done all the basic a WebSocket server. Okay, with all these different events that we expect to get hit by the client. Okay, for today we're going to finish this thing off. So before we we start, okay, I'm going to go and make a helper function first. Okay, it's a util that we will use to pass a map into like bytes to send back to the client, or for JavaScript it would be stringifying the what do you call it, the map, and then send back to the client. Okay, so we will get start on that. utils, yep. Okay, and it's a very basic function we're going to make here. Okay, I'll call it Marshall. Okay, and the M would be the map we're going to pass in. Expects a string, okay, and it will be an interface because we have no idea what is in the map. And then we're going to return a string back to whoever calls this function. Okay, let's get on to it. We'll call the first one bytes and error checking. So it's on Marshall. Okay, and we want to marshal that, and we're doing a shorthand if statement here. Okay, if it's an error, no, then we're going to log fatal. Okay, dot fatal. And we're going to pull back the error. Okay, and then we're going to return, since it's a string, so we have to go empty string, otherwise Go won't like it. Okay, else we will return the string of the bytes. Okay, and that is it for this little function. We will be using it in a sec. Okay, and the second thing we need to do, we will go back to the server and we'll go way down the bottom. We'll make this helper function first. Okay, it will be a broadcast function that we send back to the client, or the client except for ourselves. Okay, and this one we will put that in the room manager, and the type for that is room manager. Okay, and we'll call this broadcast. Okay, and we want to pass in our own ID. Okay, and it's a string, and the whole user map we need to pass in as well. So because we need to go through our map and grab this WebSocket connection and send back to the user on that. Okay, that's the reason why we need to pass in that. And in the last part, obviously we need the actual data, the data, however you like to pronounce it. I pronounce data, but I think a lot of you pronounce that as data, so let's go with data. Eh? Alright, there you go. And for this function, it's very basic. We just need to loop through the users and send a message back if the user ID doesn't match our own ID. Okay, so we need to do a for loop here, and it's user. Okay, we want to range users. Okay, if user dot info dot ID not equals to my ID. Okay, and then what we're going to do, we're going to grab the WebSocket connections in our map, and we're going to send everybody a message except for ourselves. Okay, right now we're going to use that little function we made before, Marshall, which turns the data into bytes, and then we can send it back to the user. Okay, and then down here we're going to return. Okay, if we don't find it, we're going to return nothing. Okay, that is it. That's our little function. And next thing we're going to do is our join. Okay, we're going to sort this function out. Before we do that, we need to make the types for it. Okay, so we will go up here. In a normal use, in a production, app, if you are a production app, you would put all of these things in a different file, so it's more clean. But for our purpose, we're going to do everything in this file. Okay, and we'll call this join, and it's a struct we need to make. And in here we want a user ID. Okay, this stuff is what we expect the client send us. Okay, that's what this is. Oops, that should be in lower cases. Oops, what's going on? Okay, start again. We want to use lowercase. Okay, so we make sure we use lowercase when we send from a client. This is the room ID. Same thing. Okay, we want to use that. Alright, and the last thing we want is the name. Okay, if you want to go fancy, you want to display the name, you will need this. Okay, that's our struct done. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do the join function. Okay, we're going to get rid of that. Okay, then we're going to make a function. We'll call it on join. Okay, and we want to pass the connection because this function needs to know who it is, and the message struct, and also the room manager we need to pass down as well, so we can check if this guy is available. Okay, here's a little shortcut. We can create the function like that, and it does everything for us here. You can do that in VS Code as well. Okay, not just that, or you can type it in manually. Just make sure you get these types right. Okay. Alright, so let's get started on the join. Okay, we just go var join, and we want to bring in the struct. Okay, then we can access what's in the struct now. If we by typing the lowercase join, see, you have the UID, the name, and so on. Okay, because we need to access these things. shortly. Okay, now we're going to do a we're going to marshal what we get in the data against our struct. Then we can access what the user sends in. Okay, that's what we're doing here. Unmarshal. Okay, and because the stuff we get in unmarshal expects a byte. Okay, then it's a message. We're going to destruct the message, okay, or decode the message rather than destruct, okay, and the data. Okay, and next we against what we get in with our join struct, make sure they are the same thing. Really, we should do an error handling here, okay, but for our purpose, we're not going to do it. But you should do one here. If you do an error handling, if it doesn't match, it just tells the user, hey, you miss your name or whatever, you know what I mean? So the next thing is we're going to check if this room is already in our little room manager struct. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to go to manager dot get room. Okay, remember we did this in our last session. Okay, so what we need to pass in is the room ID, okay, which is that little join with the lower cases, and then we pass the room ID. Okay, and this room will come back, okay, we do an if statement. If it's null, that means, the room doesn't exist, okay. Then we go room, we're going to create one now. Manager, create room. And again, we pass in this room ID. Okay, now we have a room. If it doesn't exist. Okay, now we're going to prepare, what do you call it? We're going to put all the user data that the user gives us. Okay, remember here, we've got a little struct here going on. Okay, we keep a track all our users and also their connection details. Okay, we need the CONN to access, who this user is and send them back a message. Okay, and this user info, this info part uses the struct, which means it's the user ID and the name. Okay, and that is what we're going to do right now. We're gonna grab everything from what the client sends us, and we're going to put it in that struct. So we keep a track, who the user, which user is online, or their name and their WebSocket information. Okay, that's what that is. Okay, the first one is the info, and we need the user info struct. Okay, we've got to fill all. Okay, and we're going to put in the join. Okay, ID, which is the UID. Okay, so user ID. Okay, join again, and the name. Okay, that's what we're doing here. And the final part is the CONN, and it's the CONN we passed in right here. Okay, I hope I explained it clear enough. Next thing is we're going to put this information into the actual struct. Okay, room users. Okay, and we use the join user ID as the identifier for this object. Okay, that's what we're doing here, and then we're going to put our actual user. Okay, we define up here into this format. Okay, so those who came from JavaScript, this is just maps, and Golang is just like objects in JavaScript. That's what it is. Okay, next thing is we need to put the users into our user info, the actual user info now. Okay, so we're going to var a info. Okay, because that is a array. Okay, now we're going to loop through this user client. Okay, we call it, and we've got to range through the room dot users, and then we've got to append this thing in, this info user client dot info. All right, that is it. And in the last thing, okay, we've put everything in the right place. Okay, the user joins and In the room of users, we put the user information into here, and this is the identifier. That's how we find this user in the future. And in the actual user struct up here. All right, that's what we just done. Okay, the last part of this function is we're going to send the information we receive to everybody who is in this current room. Okay, so the first thing is we're going to prepare a map, a new map, so we can put you know, information in there and send back to the user. Okay, so make map string interface. All right, now we can, you know, put stuff into this new map we just made here. Okay, map type. These other ways to do this, but this is the easiest way I find, you know, for beginners. Okay, it's more or less working with like Node.js, you know, how it's written, you know. And we're gonna give all the info back there. Now we're going to use our little function down bottom. Okay, room manager, I think we call it manager, right? Yep. And then we have access of this broadcast function we made when we first start. Okay, that expects a user ID and the room users. Okay, they want users, so they can loop through the users and send the stuff back. Okay, and we're going to put the data through, obviously. Okay, this is done. This is the actual join. Okay, that's what we do. Basically, we say, like put it in plain English. Basically, what we're doing is we're saving all the information the client sends us into our little object here. Okay, and then we send back the message to the client, like everyone else in the room, saying, you know, this guy is here. Be prepared, you know, for the offer and answer and ICE candidate, and then everybody gets connected after that. Okay, all right, the next one we're going to move on is offer. Okay, first of all, let's make the struct first, because let's do this in order so we don't, you know, we don't confuse ourselves. Okay, we're going to go call this negotiation. Okay, struct. Okay, again, in a P2P, it's always a good idea that you make your clients send the stuff in every time they do a request to the server. Okay. What happened to the lowercase? Okay, now Python time. Okay, we're going to use Python for this. Okay, I'll do it first, and I'll tell you why we do this. This one is negotiation. Oh, sorry, Webrtc session description. Okay, that's the type we're going to use from Python. DSC. Okay, let me show you. This is basically what it is. It's a type and also the SDP. That's all it is. We could have written this ourselves, but hey, it's a good start, you know, to start digging into Python, you know, what each thing is. We start from the basics. Okay, we're going to use this. The struct has been pre-made by Python. Okay, so the type, SDP. So if you know Webrtc a little bit, you know what these two things are. The SDP is basically the core of the connection, the information we need for the client, you know, clients to be able to connect to each other. All right, let's do the offer now. I'll tell you what, these next three functions, they practically are the same thing. Okay, but let's do them one by one. Okay, on offer, same thing, connect, WS message, room manager. All right, there you go. Here's our function here. All right, this one's really simple. Okay, there's no for those who've seen my Node.js WebSocket, this is fairly much the same thing we were doing, but we're just doing it in a different language. Okay, first let's grab the negotiation from the struct so we can access the information inside. Okay, and then same thing. We're gonna unmarshal, JSON unmarshal this against our struct of what we get from the client. Okay, that is, let me have a look at messages.data. Okay, and we want that to again sell negotiation. Cool. As I said, yeah, it's a good practice to do error handling, but hey, let's not bother. not for this tutorial anyway. Okay, manager. Okay, now we're gonna get the room. Okay, because by then we are pretty sure the room is there. Okay, so we don't need to check again. Well, we do, but it's there. You know, negotiation dot room ID. Okay, that will grab us the room, and then we can access what's in the room now. Okay, right now we're going to prepare this thing again. That's all we need to do really. Because this thing is acting as like a message forwarder. That's all. That's what a WebSocket, you know, server is in Webrtc, the signaling server. Okay, and it's interface. All right, now we're going to response. And the type equals, this one is offer, the next one is the data, we want negotiation. Okay, we want to forward everything back. And now manager dot broadcast and our ID. Okay, remember we got all the information in this beautiful struct here. Okay, user ID. And in a room, and we want to pass the users over, and the last part is the response we want. Okay, and guess what? This is it for this function. Okay, next one on answer. We're going to start doing some copy and paste and change really little thing. I'll tell you a little trick. You can go no, actually no. Let's do everything properly. Okay, not show you any shortcuts. There is a shortcut. You can, I think it's called fall through, and then it automatically uses the same function as this. So let's not be lazy because we want to learn. Okay, answer connect ws message and then room manager. Okay, same thing. Our little light bulb creates our little thing. Okay, let's copy this because these two things are actually the same. Alright, instead of offer, that will have to be answer. Okay, that's what that is. Alright, guess what? Done. And get rid of that break. We don't need that. Okay, the last bit is candidate, which is the ICE candidate. Okay, before we do that, we better go and make a struct because the offer answer basically exchanges the session description. So that's why we no need to make a special struct for offer and answer because they carry the same information. Alright, but ICE candidate is slightly different. Okay, it's got a totally different thing, and we're going to use Python for this one as well. Okay, we'll call this candidate. Candidate. I always have trouble spelling this, but here we go. Same thing, UID, string. It's good practice to carry this, you know, on all the information. Okay, the last important part, candidate. Okay, and we want to use the Python types again, ICE candidate. Self-explanatory, isn't it? And we want to use lowercase. Alright, cool, done. And now we will go back to here. Okay. Candidate. What we need to do is we're doing the same thing. Okay, on candidate we want to have all these things down bottom. Okay, our little light bulb comes in handy now. There you go, on candidate. This thing is saying we spelled it wrong, but okay, forget it. I was got to add this into my dictionary so we don't see a little line there. Actually, it's nothing. It's just telling us it's not right. And you know what? The function is fairly much the same here. We're going to copy this over, chuck it here. Difference here. Candidate. Okay, we've got to bring it in here. Candidate. Same as here. Okay, cool. We're done. All right. This is it. I'm just gonna run it. Make sure there's no errors, but it won't work now because we don't have anything else. Okay. Oops, we do have an error. Here we go. Number 9. Undefined new room. See it? Oh, sorry. Yeah, let's do Bill. Because the way, yeah, it works. Because the reason is if we compile it like that, the way we wrote it, we have to add every single file into when we build it. So, for example, we have to go build main.go and then room.go. I'm going to show you, while we're there, because since we don't have a lot of files anyway. User.go and then util.go. Now it will compile. There you go. Alright, that's the reason why. Okay, there's no error. Alright, this is it for this tutorial. And yeah, again, I like to apologize. I left it a huge gap between the last video and this video. And yeah, I'm going to dedicate more time on this. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And consider to be a Patreon, okay? Support me so I can spend a lot more time on this. There's a lot I want to teach, but hey, I have to make money first, so that's the issue. So I have to do the what brings in the income first before I do this one. But yeah, the source code is available. If you want to support me another way, you can go to my store and purchase the source code for this. And the next video will be starting on the Flutter client. Okay, I'm looking forward as well because I haven't used Flutter for a few months now. So it's a good practice for me to get back into it again. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Be safe and Merry Christmas as well. All right, thanks very much.